Let's look at this Redfin.
For more on what this means for you, let's bring in Chief Economist at Redfin, Daryl Fairweather, also who wrote this article. Daryl, great to see you. As you know, right now, so many Americans say they are feeling the pinch when it comes to the economy. That also means when it comes to home ownership. What is bringing about this great American reset?
The housing market has been in a really tough spot since 2022. But what we're seeing now is that mortgage rates are coming down, and that means that buyers' budgets can go farther because their monthly mortgage payments will be lower. And if you were looking for a home in spring 2025 and looking again in spring 2026, you'll definitely feel that the housing market has improved. There are more homes for sale, that prices have only gone up a touch.
So let's run that back. They're predicting, and please keep in mind that real estate is always local. So when Redfin makes this big giant housing prediction, they're not talking about the city of Atlanta. They're not talking about the city of Ackworth. Ackworth may experience just a little bit of that. Ackworth may never even see it. And Ackworth in Atlanta is probably one of the fastest growing cities, and not just fastest growing, highest appreciating cities, even in a reset or what you would consider a recessionary market. So Ackworth may never experience that, but they're predicting overall mortgage rates will dip to a low of 6% in range. One factor, improved affordability. I challenge that because you can dip it down to 6%, but when you have massive job loss and you are entering a space now where you have to re-educate the people with AI, with the shift that's taking place, but even are on the federal level, departments, whole organizations being gone, I think they are being way too generous to think that this would actually make it affordable for people. Home buying affordability will improve as wages grow faster than prices. No. The thing that you have to keep in mind is every area is different. You may be living in the Appalachians and you're not going to see that. You could be living in Atlanta, okay? And you may say, hey, that means that wages will grow faster. No. The wages in Atlanta and living in Atlanta cannot keep up with the appreciation and the taxes on real estate now in that city. You can't. I've bought a house in Atlanta. Was using it for Airbnb, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, this thing ran, I think, $399 for this house. Bungalow, rehab, redone. And I have it out there for Airbnb, doing Airbnb. And I will tell you right now, never. If you really consider doing Airbnb for a property, don't do that. Don't do it. Don't do any type of Airbnb. Airbnb, if they have it in your city, they will eventually, it will soon come where they're going to get hit. They're getting hit in so many other cities right now. Even Atlanta has their whole little Airbnb play. When I discovered this, I said, you know what? I partnered with somebody. You run this and you put somebody in, I'm good, bro. I got the mortgage, you run. Because at the end of the day, it made no sense. Atlanta's going to come in and they're going to put all these rules, and they already started doing it. I think I applied for the license and they said, well, you missed the paperwork. It's rejected. You can't apply for another year. I said, damn, what? A year? Because I missed a piece of paper? Stay away from that. Home sales will rise 3%. Home sales are always going to go up. You're always going to have, even because there are just some places that people just want to be at. The schools are good. They're better than the best in that county or in that area. And you're going to always have a tussle and a fight to get in there. West Cobb, for example, west of Atlanta, has one of the best school systems. There's always, you may find a house. It may be affordable, but it may not be the type of house that you like. You're going to have to put some elbow grease into it. You might have to do some renovations because the one that you may potentially like isn't available to you. Welcome to Atlanta. Welcome to the real market. That's really what's happening.
Have only gone up a touch, and your incomes have probably gone up faster than home prices.
Okay, rents will rise as demand for apartments rise and supplies fall. Rents rise as demand for apartments rise. It all depends on where you're at. We got a lot of building going on when it comes to rental units, corporate rental units in Atlanta, in the Atlanta metro area. But the reality of it is a lot of those places, they still were sitting unoccupied for months upon months. They had to wait and see that the number that they were trying to get for those units, they couldn't get it, and started pulling back. And then they're competing also with people that can't necessarily sell their house, but they will offer it out on the market. So would you rather do a 1-bedroom, 1-bath in Atlanta for $2,800, or would you rather do a home that's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, slightly outside of of 285, probably no more than 15, 20 minutes away from where you were before, for half that amount, or let's say 60% of that amount, 17, 1,800, or even 2,300 if you went at it. You still got more space than you would actually have with the townhouse, with that 1-bedroom unit. Dude, there's so much. Housing costs will reshape households with more roommates and fewer babies. That's already happening. We already got young people that can't afford to get a unit by themselves. They got to move back in. And you think about it, who's thinking about having a baby when you can't even make ends meet? Affordability crisis will unite policymakers across the party lines. We already do see that when we have Trump with Zoran Mandani in the White House, and the key word is affordability, and everybody's throwing it around. Yes, reshaping. It is reshaping. They are coming together. Trump is saying, yeah, I'm going to do affordability too. And the Republicans know that. The libs already been playing that. The Democrats already been playing that. Yeah, I do expect to see some type of coming together concerning that. How will we truly have an effect or a change? I don't know. You tell me.
So that's all good news, although it's going to be an incremental improvement. It's the beginning of a change that we think will continue for the next several years.
All right, so what are you looking at as far as timeline, when this starts next year? And then, it's always hot and cold. Where do you believe the housing market will likely heat up? And then where do you think it could potentially cool down?
The markets that are going to heat up the most are markets that have historically been overlooked, like the Great Lakes region or upstate New York. That's where home prices are still low enough that you can find great deals, but there really aren't that many homes for sale there because there wasn't a building boom during the pandemic the way that there was in the South. In the South, there were lots of homes built in Texas and Florida, really all across the Sun Belt. And now there's more supply than there are buyers interested.
And what they don't say is that we're going to have a foreclosure epidemic also, because when you start taking away income from homes, when people are getting laid off rapidly at this amount, Shopify and Amazon and some of these other companies are laying off these people. People got to pay for their mortgage. Unemployment runs out after a period of time. So what happens then? See, you're going to have a flood of inventory that hits the market, and then you're going to have people that's looking for it that will balance it out, right? Supposedly, banks don't want to become foreclosure people. They don't want to hold assets. Is there truly enough buyers on the side to actually buy the foreclosures that are there and also the sitting resale inventory?
In the Sun Belt, that's where buyers will find the best deals, and that's where prices are falling the most and will continue to fall in 2026.
All right, so the median age for a first-time home buyer right now is 40 years old. That's an all-time high. Redfin, has predicted that household makeup is going to shift with more Gen Z and millennials living with their parents for longer, because of what costs are dictating. What obstacles do you see when it comes to housing affordability for first-time home buyers, for these younger families?
Yes, baby boomers have been the biggest winners of the housing market over the last 10 years. But moving forward, those baby boomers are going to be retiring, they're going to be downsizing, and younger generations are going to find more opportunities. And when younger generations team up with older generations, like have multi-generational living, grandparents living with parents, living with kids, they're going to find a lot of success. We're seeing more.
Yeah, so don't sell your house. And I heard another creator was talking about this. Don't sell your parents' house. If your parent passes away and you inherit the house, don't sell it. I truly believe that there was another stat that was out there. I think they said it was 40% of the United States actually own their house free and clear. I think they meant to say baby boomers because I couldn't see that as 40%, but they said that it was. Okay, we listened to the stats. But at the end of the day, there's a wealth transfer that's taking place from the baby boomers to their children or their great grandchildren. So we got a lot that's going to happen and nobody quite knows how it's going to take place because not all baby boomers have someone to inherit their property or their assets. Okay. But the place that we're at, we do recognize that that's going to be a big shift, not just in the economy, but also in the market. They got to sell their stuff. They got to get rid of it. Keep it as a family home. Try to give it and keep it in your family home as a family home that's together because land, as you see with them trying to build data centers, them trying to buy land in order to build on a commercial side. I don't know if you're near a commercial space, if you are near it, but the value of land, I can see it going up more and more. More and more, especially residential land when there's less places where the population, I think the Gen Zers, right, I think they're way more than the millennials, if that's true, right, in number. So land and living is not going to be something that you can take for granted in the next 5 to 10 years at all. Okay.
Intergenerational living housing units being developed, like additional dwelling units, duplexes, triplexes. So we think that's going to be an ongoing trend of Gen Z kind of figuring out how they can get into the housing market. And when they have some help or support from their parents, they're going to find even more success.
All right. I know, Daryl, that there are people watching this who are just saying, a house right now is just not in the cards. So for people who can't afford to buy a home and will still be renting, kind of what's the outlook there?
In 2025, rents were pretty flat, which was a big relief for renters. If they couldn't find a home to buy, they could at least find a home to rent that wasn't going to be excessively expensive. But in 2026, because so many people did choose to rent and are continuing to rent, we think that prices are going to heat up in the rental market, that rents will increase about 2 to 3%, which unfortunately means that those renters are going to have less money left over to spend on other necessities. People who have been on the brink of thinking about buying a home are going to be more motivated to buy a home when they get those lease renewals that show that their rents are increasing.
All right, so we know that the Trump administration right now is really focusing in on affordability, as are Democrats. But are there other things you think that the Trump administration could be doing to kind of get the housing market moving at an even faster pace?
Well, we're seeing more bills proposed in Congress, like the Road to Housing bill. That is a bipartisan effort. What the administration could do on its own is to use the authority of HUD to really pressure local governments to densify, to increase the supply of housing, especially.
We're going to have one of the biggest housing shifts since 2008, but it's not going to come from these mortgages like it did in 2008. I keep saying it's going to come from AI. It's going to come from a shrinking job corporate job market, you got to think of it like this. Large corporations are responsible for hiring, I think it was an insane amount, like 85% of the US population works for some large corporation, whether you're talking about a healthcare, retail, logistics, tech, doesn't matter. A corporation that has 500 or more employees. So if these corporations slowly start to cut back on jobs and cut back on job positions and integrate AI into a lot of what they're doing, you got to realize that's going to affect the buying side when it says, do I buy a house or can I buy a house? They have to fix that issue in order to affect the affordability issue. Homes can be affordable, but it's a different type of affordability when you're getting, like I said before, foreclosures that you now that's now being put back on the market, and you got to turn around and find a buyer for, or they're finding buyers for. It's almost like it's like a rinse and repeat. Almost like, rinse and repeat, like a buy her, pay her spot. They take your car and turn around and sell it to someone else. Because they're looking for someone that can afford. They're not really solving the affordability issue. The affordability issue, I feel, starts with the income. You started with increasing income, increasing skills, the shift, and then now it dwindles into, oh, I can afford this or I can't afford that. You want to say, oh, people are saying, oh, well, the houses are too expensive. You just don't make enough to afford the houses. The house wouldn't be too expensive if you made the income to afford it. Now, not everybody makes that. I don't make enough. That's true. That's why I said it goes back to income and skills. What skills do you have that helps you weather the storm, even when the market is bad? Because the market, you don't make money in good markets in real estate. You make money in bad markets in real estate. That's when that's when you have market moves. So when you're sitting back waiting for the government to make it more affordable, don't wait for them. Go get your bag. Go increase your skill set. Go make your money moves. Go change your position in life. Go add in new skills like AI or content. No, don't do that. Content around real estate, making real estate, doing real estate, doing content, all of that at the same time wears a lot. Unless you really want to do that, or you have or if you got a passion for it, go do it. But you can't sit back and think that a house will become affordable enough for you to move in. Simply because there's an influx of houses that's on the market and they're talking about lowering the rates to 6%. Not a heck of a lot of reasons why not. So just be smart with this, man. Don't believe the affordability lie. I say go and increase your bag, man. And don't wait for this place to become affordable, because you may just as well been waiting. You might be waiting for years upon years for something like that to happen.